Before this class, I had not believed myself to actually have culture, and I was not upset nor was I happy about this. I was indifferent. I was raised without focusing on it, so why should it matter? Now I am still in shock as to how much of a cultural product I actually am. The reason I viewed myself as culturally lacking is because I always viewed culture as a kind of club. And I wasn't invited. I was average, a blank piece of paper. And while I did have attributes and qualities to color me in, such as math whiz, bookworm, and runner, I didn't see how that truly made a difference in that white piece of paper. After all, these things in combination set me apart from the other kids in my classroom, but individually they could also be used to color in other people. Jason was even further ahead in math than I was. Heather ran faster than I did. And reading? Practically everybody claimed to love reading. But back to the point. You don't have to be American to like these things. When I thought of culture, I would think of my best friend Sandra. Her mother is from Mexico, and because of this, she is extremely fond of celebrating her Hispanic culture. She belongs to the club that has the opportunity to eat and learn to cook traditional dishes. My parents are from California. What traditional dishes could I cook? She listens to traditional music and is looking forward to taking a ballet folklorico class. She has a special pass to events that celebrate Mexican American culture. She is part of that club. What does my club do? What is it known for? I never knew that answer, so I let it go and accepted that I was one of the many who didn't have culture. However, from this class, I have discovered that the answer is happiness. My club focuses on being happy, following dreams, and the American phrase, well, fake it till you make it. Whenever I think about American culture now, I have a default focus on Chris McCandless. When reading Into the Wild, I tried so hard to view his adventure through a cultural lens, but I just couldn't see it. He liked to explore into nature and decided to give his family the slip in order to fully embrace the experience. Good for him. But once the discussions began in class, the light bulb was finally lit. McCandless was an idol of American culture because he represented the American need to chase whatever dream drives you. I'd always thought this was just a belief I had been raised with, but I was wrong. However, I found it extremely interesting that originally the class argued as to whether or not his specific dream represented America, when in reality the American concept of freedom of thought provides no right answer to that question. As we saw, some American students believed it was foolish to travel into the woods alone, while others thought it was smart and would earn him peace and enlightenment. I didn't necessarily agree with his choices. Does that mean all of the disagreeing students, including myself, were not American? By disagreeing, does that mean that we must leave this club? If the argument was that he represented American culture, wouldn't us disagreeing with it also mean that we did not represent American culture? As you can all tell, I actually did spend some time considering exactly what was wrong with that argument. And as a quick note, that is mathematically called a contrapositive error, in which one falsely concludes that since P implies Q, if Q is not true, P must also be untrue. Chris McCandless is another blank piece of paper. His desire to explore was an attribute written about him, similar to how the words math whiz were written about me. And just as similar to myself, this attribute is shared with other people, but not all. What pushes him past just a piece of paper with a few stenciled letters on him is his motivation to make himself find happiness. Although some people living in England take advantage of outdoor adventures such as exploring the many Shire-like areas surrounding them, they do not share the same connection with McCandless as I do, simply by walking down the roads in Forest Grove and getting lost. For example, Becca rather enjoys exploring, but she only does so when she is happy and has a hankering to look around. When she has something to accomplish, she will compromise by still focusing on her work, but doing so outside. I explore because I know I can let go of everything and become happy whether or not I started happy. And when I have something stressful to accomplish, I use the exploration to escape the pressure for instant happiness and leave the stressful task at a momentary standstill. It is almost viewed as an investment. Everything I do is either to enable me happiness later on, or to promote instant happiness via distraction from things that are bothering me. I spiral back to my original argument. You don't have to be American to enjoy such things as escaping into the wilderness, and you aren't kicked out of the American Culture Club if you don't enjoy such things. What defines American culture is the motivation of happiness in itself. Tyler Durden was the founder of Fight Club, and he always kept in mind that everyone needs to hit rock bottom before they can ricochet back up to what they need. In America, we all believe that what we need is happiness, no matter what the cost. Even if it takes hours, days, weeks, years, we all work towards happiness. After all, 1 minute is enough. A person has to work hard for it, but a minute of perfection is worth the effort. A moment is the most you could ever expect from perfection. McCandless had to suffer hunger, heat, and frustrations with various people in order to get his moments of perfection. I sacrificed too many hours of schoolwork and endured too much stress in order to walk away one day with the degree I've always wanted. Brides sacrifice money and spend months planning every detail of their wedding in order to make it perfect. Hannah works very hard on her sketches in order to embrace the praise of their perfection. And Mo is working very hard to provide her son with the best childhood she can give, just as her parents did for her. I'm not saying those of other cultures do not participate in these activities or these sacrifices, but the lengths that Americans go to just to be happy, even if for only a minute, has shown me the culture that resides within our society. Lester Burnham fought for the stereotypical American dream just as hard as Tyler Durden influenced the narrator to fight against it, yet they both fought ultimately for happiness. This is the focus of our club. I now know that my piece of paper belongs in the Club of American Culture. I sympathize with crushed dreams and I promote the happiness of others, so whether I fight about every little thing with someone else in the club, or we get along great, as long as we share this common club goal, we will all belong. Fictional, historic, or current, Americans can always be identified with this focus. So I leave all of my fellow club members with these questions. What is the dream you are fighting for? How are you fighting for it? And tell me, what is it that makes you happy?